Good morning. This is Robin. It's October 3rd, 2025, and today we are looking at the freeCodeCamp Daily Code Challenge. Let's see. Today is password strength. The problem says, given a password string, return weak, medium, or strong based on the strength of the password. The password is evaluated according to the following rules. It has to be at least 8 characters long. It contains both uppercase and lowercase letters. It contains at least one number. It contains at least one special character from the set, and there's a bunch of characters. Return weak if the password meets fewer than 2 of the rules. Return medium if the password meets 2 or 3 of the rules. Return strong if the password meets all 4 rules. So, as we did yesterday, there is the problem. There's the code window in the middle for the choice of JavaScript and Python. And on the right side is where the console test output will go. And when we run a test, if we run the test and all of the tests currently are returning failed because we don't have any code in here. So we're just returning a function called check strength, passing in a password. Currently, it's just returning the same password. So we have a variety of ways we could probably solve this. We could check each one of these items one by one. Let's see. And we need a string to get returned that, gives the results. And we also probably need a counter for the number of rules that are met. Also, then we can go one by one, check the uppercase, lowercase, check if it has numbers and special characters. So I think probably the first thing I need to figure out here is that we need a counter. So, all right, so let rules met counter. Oops. Let's start with 0 because there are none. And then we're going to want to I'll have to think about this one. We do have to return let's see, the results. Equals, and this will be empty for now. Let's return the results. And like I did yesterday, I'll put some console logs. So that we can check these just for some debugging. We'll take them out later. Counter. All right, tab that over. All right, let's run this. It should be 0 at the very bottom and empty. Very good. All right, first thing we want to do is check the length of the string. It must be at least 8 characters long. So we can do a length if password dot, I think it's length. I'll have to check it. Is equal to or larger than 8. Let's increment the counter. Rules met counter. And I can't remember in JavaScript if it's plus plus. Let's try it and see. Now the first test is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is probably not going to meet this. And it doesn't like this either. Maybe it's larger than, is it this way? I'm used to C# and C languages, and well, this is also a C-based language technically, so let's see what we get. Rules met counter is 0. Well, that would be expected. We have to find a way to test this. What if we said password equals, we'll just make our own number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll change the value coming in so I can test it. Rules met counter is 1. There we go. So that is working. We'll take that off for a minute. That'll help us check to make sure things are working because the test console output only outputs for the very first test. So all of these other ones are probably not going to show unless we trick it. Contains both upper and lower case letters, contains one number and special characters. Now there are, I guess we could check the character ASCII counts or the values and all that. And we could also loop through the string like an array to check each individual character to see what it matches. There's a couple of different ways to do that maybe. Regular expressions is probably the most common way that I can think of. I am not a regular expressions expert right off the top of my head, so we might have to check some Google here to see how this looks. So we want to contain uppercase and lowercase letters, so let's go to Google just for fun and say JavaScript check string for uppercase letters. Or maybe we want to count them. Let's see if that does. Counting upper and lowercase numbers in a string. Use a for loop and to uppercase. This iterates through each character of the string and compares it to its uppercase equivalent. If they're the same and the character is not a number of symbols counted as an uppercase. Now so it kind of looks like this. So we can have to set a counter, do a for loop through the length of the string, get the character position of that. Now I was kind of talking about that a minute ago. And if the character is larger than equal to capital A or less than equal to capital Z, count them. If it returns a count, then we can say if the count is 1 or more, then we can increment the rules counter. That's a little complicated for each single one, but that's probably the most basic answer. So let's try that. Oh, this is using a separate function. Let's count uppercase, so we could do it this way. Let's try this one. Using reduce into uppercase utilizes a reduce method to iterate and accumulate the count of uppercase characters. And that's a whole nother array type thing where it goes through counters. Now we're talking about regular expressions. It offers a concise way to match and count uppercase letters. I personally like these best. I never can remember because I just don't use them that often. So let's take this for example. Let's see if it'll let us do an extra one. And then count uppercase my string. This is going to be our password actually. So over here, if count uppercase letters regex, let's do password because we're passing the password in. And if the count is larger than 0, rules counter, rules met counter plus plus. Let's see if it'll let this work. So far we have 0 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 does not have any uppercase letters. It's a number. So let's put A in. Let's put an A in, capital A and number 3 right here like that. Now run it. Rules met counter is 2. So that was working. So you can apparently in the daily code challenge add extra functions to do extra stuff. So we're going to want to do the same exact thing with the lowercase. So count lowercase. I'm assume this is just change these to smaller. Basically what this is doing is checking globally for G stands for globally and A through Z are the matches that we're looking for. Sounds like we could probably use this for something else also. Maybe for the numbers. Now the rules, it says contains both upper and lowercase numbers, so we need both. So in order to do that, we need this if to have two conditions. So we want an and I'm trying to remember, I think it's ampersand, ampersand. Let's copy this. It's going to be a little ugly because of the line wrapping. And make sure that is larger than 0. Let's run the test. Does it work? Okay. The first one passed, the second one did not, and that is because it didn't have both. So if we put uppercase A, lowercase b right here, run the test, and now it works. So there we go. That's two of them, so if it must contain at least one number, I suspect we can use this again. Let's check. Count numbers. These matches are going to probably be 0 through 9. We should actually change these comments as we go. Some people like to say the code is the comment, but it's actually just nice to have it correct. So, but that's one of the things with comments, you do have to remember to fix those as you go. All right, let's do this. If count, what was the name of that function? Count numbers regex. So if I double click on it, it highlights the whole word. I'm going to Control C copy, get the numbers. And we're not doing an and here, so we're just going to delete that. So count numbers regex if they're more than, must have at least one. So it's larger than 0 would work. All right, let's run the test. Now we have 3, so correct. Each one of these is returning a true or counting. Contains at least one special character from this set. So we want to count special characters. All right, now this is a range 0 through 9. If I remember, there is count specific characters in a string. There we go. Now this is actually the Google AI, so we're kind of doing that. So again, they're saying use a for loop. That's too much. Using regular expressions. Precise way to find all occurrences of a character or pattern. Not sure that's matching what I'm looking for. That's for a single character. We don't want to run it over and over. I think there was a way to characters. I did say characters. Yeah, and you always get weird stuff with search results. Count. I want multiple characters. Nope, same thing. Yeah, that's annoying. Am I missing something? Oh, target characters. Oh, I see what they're doing. They're passing in us. Okay, gotcha. I don't totally love this. I thought there was a way to do this in one regex line. Yeah, this is going to slow me down. I was hoping I'd get this done faster. I wonder, I'm going to try something. What if we did this, this, just for fun? And let's put one of those in the character. So exclamation point. I'm going to get 4. Nope, 3. It does not work. I'm going to probably cut the dead air out when I do the video. Let's see here. How to count the number of times a letter appears. Oh, that's pretty ugly. Length character. Oh, maybe I have to do that weird one at the front. Let's try it. Count multiple characters. I'll leave this one here for now. Multiple characters regex. I need a constant, which is my values that I could count. We'll put that up at the top here. All right, we need one of these. This is going to be an array of characters. We'll try those first. And my function name was count multiple characters regex. Wait, did I even put the if statement in? Well, you know what, that would help. Of course. Okay, let's try this again. Actually, let's go back and try special characters. That would help if I did that. Guess what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that does work. Interesting. Okay, I want to try something. Let x equals, I want to see what the actual value is. Actually, console log. Let's see how many of these match. Because according to this, I have 1. I do have 1. If I were to put an @ sign, we have 2. Okay, that's what I thought was going to work. Okay, I don't need this. All right, forget about this complicated weird one where we pass a string of characters. I think you just pass in this and it matches. So I was right the first time. All right, I'll put the rest of these in. I probably could pass these in as a parameter to this function, and then when we could customize it. But let's get this working first. Just for fun, let's double check we have all of these running. You put them on the end. We have 8. That is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. There we have it. 4 functions to count regexes for specific instances. Now, if you're noticing, you could probably combine these, A through Z with A or lowercase, and then the numbers, you could put those all into one string with these range, with the brackets. But we're trying to do a count, so we're just going to keep it simple. Now, return weak if the password meets fewer than 2 of the rules. Return medium if it meets 2 or 3. Return strong if the password meets all 4. All right. At the end of here, we want to, let's start off with an if statement. If rules met counter equal is less than 2, and we can return weak. And the same thing if rules met counter meets 2 or 3. So we could say equals 2 or 3, or we could say larger than 1 and met counter is less than 4. That's one way to do it. There's probably a better way. Now, there probably is going to be a better way for some of these. Now, if you notice, the returns are supposed to be lowercase. So we'll make sure they match. And one more. If rules met counter meets all 4, is equal to 4, return strong. All right, let's do some quick tests of this. And now this return result, actually we don't even need a result, do we? We're just returning a string. So let's take this off and let's take off this result. We probably don't need that. All right, run. Okay. Rules met counter is 4. What did I do wrong? Did I type it wrong? Maybe that's supposed to be that. Let's check our test. Nope, nothing. That would help if we put those in. Maybe that's the problem. Nope. All right, let's do this one different way. Results, like I was planning to do. We missed something obvious here. Oh, the result is still empty. Let's put this at the end. So we can see if it's working or not. How interesting. So it did empty and then strong. So it technically is working. We're tricking it with this. Oh, that's because oh, I see with duh. Take that off. Okay. Are we getting anything? No. Well, we did have a couple of them. 2 strongs. Let's do a test on this one. That is returning 2. So it's all uppercases, one special character. The result should be rules mat counter is less than 2, or if it's 1, which is 2, should be medium. Let's do larger and equal than 2. I probably should have done this to begin with. Okay. Rules. I wonder if they care about this. The other way to do this would be to use a switch statement. I have to double check how we do that in JavaScript. I believe it's just switch with cases. Now it's still coming back empty. Rules met counter on the first try. So I have an extra one of these console logs. Where is it? Oh, I see. We're doubling up. Let's take that out. That's not productive. Okay, it's still coming back 4. So don't need that. That must mean these lower cases are not working correctly. Uppercase. Do I have a lowercase? I thought I did. Oh, I don't. That's weird. Oh, see what happened. We have a bug. So we want uppercase here. I must have erased it somehow. That should be lowercase. Uppercase, lowercase, count numbers, special characters. It's returning 4. This is why I don't do whiteboards at interviews. Lowercase. Oh, duh. This is supposed to be both. Uppercase and count lowercase. Oh, I had it right. Password is 8 characters. No, we're doing these together as a group. It's hard to read with this IDE. Is it longer than 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Password should return medium. So that's 1. They're all uppercase. That's 2. Upper or lowercase. No, I should have been a 0. Count numbers should also be 0 or empty. And count special characters rejects should have been a 1 extra one. All right, let's do those console logs. Length is 9, correct. And one for the lower so we can kind of compare it. I'm sure somebody over here is screaming like you totally missed the most obvious thing in the world. I'm sure of it. So this is just one good way to do troubleshooting. This is numbers, special, upper lower number special. Okay, run test. So we have a length of 9, 8 upper characters, 0 lower characters, 0 numbers, 1 special. That is correct. Rules met 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I wonder if we have a logic error on our if statement here. If count uppercase password is larger than 0 and Count lowercase is larger than 0. That should be that should not have incremented. And how we can tell? Let's do this. That did not show up. Okay. Rules met 4. That should be 0. Okay, I'm kind of stumped. Count uppercase letters regex password is larger than 0. And it's larger than 0. Console log upper and lower of count thing. That did not show up, so it is not hitting. That is correct. Length is 9. Is at least 8 characters. Check strength password should be medium. Okay, let's do larger or equal to 4. Just here to be sure. Oh, interesting. Rules counter 2. How did that happen? Result medium. So length is 9. That fails. That fails. That's correct. Okay. I'm not sure what I did wrong here. Okay. Let's turn that off and run it for everything. Aha! There we go. And we could submit this and go to the next challenge. All right, if you want to bear with me for a minute. Okay. Now let's try to put this into Chat GPT just to do a check of our code. And I'm not saying we start here. I'm trying to avoid AI at first if possible. And I'm going to stay logged out because it's free for just basic use. All right, I'm going to copy this in JavaScript for this coding challenge. Shift enter a couple times, paste it, and let's go to the end, shift enter a couple times. This was my answer. How can how can it be made more efficient? Ah, all right. And it's probably going to tell me to get rid of all of the comments and the console logs, of course. Here we go. Your implementation works, but it definitely can be simplified and optimized. I expected. You're calling each regex function multiple times, even though the result doesn't change. Yep. You're counting characters when you only need to check if at least one exists, a Boolean check. Logging is used for debugging, but not for production or performance. That's all the stuff. The logic for determining weak, medium, or strong can be cleaner. I'm going to expect there's going to be a switch statement or something for that. Maybe even making those constants. Okay. They're suggesting rules met equals 0. So if you notice this variable name is shorter, if it has length, password and length is larger than 8, equal. It has upper and lower. Oh, they're constants. Interesting. And you can put these together. Constant has number. These are Booleans. And There's the D. D stands for digits, so it's checking for digits. And when it's calling a test password function, it has special characters. So this is kind of like I was doing. So we put them all inside of one bracket. Test the password. If has length, rules met plus plus. If it has upper and lower, rules met plus plus. Okay, this is good. Starts out if rules met is less than 2, return weak. If it's less than 4, because we've already checked for that and it would returned already, return medium. And if it was more than that, it would return strong. That's a much better way. It's not quite the switch, but I don't see the test password. Oh, maybe that's a function from JavaScript. I'm going to ask it a question. Uses test instead of match. Okay, faster when you only need to check for a match. If you still want debugging, wrap the logs in a debug flag. Constant debug equals false. So if debug. Okay, that's interesting. What does do? I think it kind of explained it, but I'm curious. It's used with regular expressions in JavaScript. Checks whether the string matches a pattern defined by a regular expression. It returns a Boolean. There we go. True or false. That's new. I didn't know that was there. We learn something every day. Test when you care if a condition is met, doing a yes or no check. The match gets all the matches and returns an array of the matches themselves. So we don't need that. So this would be a good answer. Whoops, where do we go? Copy code. Let's put it in here and see if it works. Control, we're going to delete it all, paste it. Run the test. And it does work. Yay, okay. Well, says you know Kung Fu. Yeah, well, so does ChatGPT. So there we have it. That's today's coding challenge. It took me way, way too long. I obviously could have made this easier. So this is the point. I am trying to do it from scratch, and this was my first try. As you can tell, I didn't go back and re-record this. I probably will do that on certain days. I almost thought about doing it today, but then, well, sometimes it's good to see somebody's logic as they try to figure something out. So, and yes, I'm not the best at this, but that's how it goes. And then we also put ChatGPT just to kind of get a peer review check since I don't have a peer sitting with me. So there you go. Well, thank you for watching.